Hey, welcome back, everybody. My name is Scott Newhouse. I'm a certified financial planner, and today I'm going to talk about something that is going to be super, super important for all of us at some point in life. Maybe not for you right now, but definitely in the future, and definitely maybe for your parents right now. I get a little bit of information about who listens to this show via Google Analytics, and it's mostly people in their 50s and 60s. If that's the case for you, if that's true for you, that you're around that age, I really hope you're in great, physical and mental health. But there's going to be a point in life where we're not going to be in great physical and mental health, and that's obviously going to be in our 80s and 90s, most likely. But if you are that age, there's hopefully a good chance that one or both of your parents are still alive. So this actually really might be applicable to them, what I'm about to say. And so what I want to go through is the very sad, tragic last final days of Gene Hackman. Obviously a legendary actor. As I'm sure you saw on the news, he passed away last month, and by coincidence, he actually passed away around the same time as his wife, Betsy, and they were living in New Mexico. And I kind of want to go through what happened and outline some ideas that we can kind of mitigate the chances of this happening to you, to your parents, to anyone that you care about, because it's really a terrible way to go out. So on February 11th, and Gene and Betsy, husband and wife, they were just living in their home with 3 dogs. And so that's it, no kids in the house. So Betsy dies on February 11th. Well, actually, let me backtrack a little bit. On February 26th, they were found by, I assume, the police during a welfare check. And so they find them on February 26th. And there are some people that were, worried about foul play, so they did a little bit of an investigation into that. They found no foul play was involved, and they both died of natural causes. Okay, just with that background, just a massive coincidence that they both die around the same times. Then they do an investigation, and now we find more details. Here's what we have. We have Betsy. She died on February 11th, and I'm going to mispronounce this, but she died of hantavirus pulmonary syndrome, a rare disease transmitted through rodent urine, droppings, or saliva, officials said. And her body showed signs of decomposition. There was mummification to her hands and feet, according to a search warrant affidavit. And obviously dying at 65 is extremely, extremely way too young. So that's tragic in and of itself. Now, here's where it gets even worse, though. Gene, who died at age 95, he had Alzheimer's, and he died of cardiovascular issues 1 week later. Now, the really sad, tragic part in all of this is that he lived with Betsy for that entire week. And we're not quite sure if he even knew that she was dead. Let me see if I can find this right here. One of the officials, Gerald, said that one of the officials involved in the investigation says that Hackman was in an advanced state of Alzheimer's, and it's quite possible he was not aware that she was deceased, adding that the question is difficult to answer. And let me just add in a couple more things about what Gene went through. According to the same official, Gene suffered severe heart disease, multiple surgical procedures involving the heart, evidence of prior heart attacks, and severe changes of the kidney due to chronic high blood pressure. And then lastly, let me see just if I can find this one thing. According to the autopsy, there was no food in his stomach, which meant that he had not eaten recently, but he had also no evidence of dehydration. So, I don't know if we're ever going to get the full answer to this. Did Gene, that 1 week that he lived after his wife's death, did he know that she was gone? Did he try and make a phone call, but wasn't able to? Maybe maybe just forgot about her. As sad as that is to say, we're not really sure. And then one other tragic piece to this is that they actually had 3 dogs. One of them was found dead on February 26th in a crate. Couldn't get out of that crate, and the dog was close to Betsy's body when it was discovered. But they did, and this is the only good news we have on the story, they did have 2 other dogs. One had access to the doggy door, and then one was, roaming inside the house. So 2 of the dogs survived, which is nice, but we also lost one of the dogs, including Betsy and Gene. So a really tragic, terrible way to go out. And so what I want to talk about is if your parents are still alive, I'm assuming they're in their, 80s, 90s. I hope they're still at home, which is where most people want to, live out their final days. Most people don't want to go to a nursing home for a variety of reasons, but I mean, we all can understand, wanting to die in the home that we've lived in, presumably for multiple decades. So I've just got some ideas. How can we not go out like Gene Hackman? First of all, family and friends. Most people, and I was reading this in the Atlantic, let me see if I can quote this here. Roughly 3 in 4 American adults will live within 30 miles of their nearest parent or adult, according to a 2019 study. So that's pretty good. It obviously goes to show that most people don't want to go too far away, when they're an adult and they want to stay close to their family. If you have family that are able to check in on each other, that'd be fantastic. Obviously, there's a familiarity there, but then also, a love there. And ideally, if a family member hasn't heard from if a child hasn't heard from mom or dad in a couple days, then they'd be reaching out and then, asking the police to kind of help enter the home if you don't have a set of keys. And if you do have a set of keys, you can obviously just go in yourself. But I know that's not going to be an option for every single person. Some people are going to live far away. Some people are going to be busier than others. So there are actually some new tech advances. And one of them is something called Snug Safe. I obviously have no affiliation, Snug Safety. And the website is snugsafe.com. And so basically it's an app, which I admit is going to be a little bit harder for people older to use. But you can teach someone to use that, but it just may not come intuitively. But basically it works is, the person living alone has this app. They pull the app up and then they have a time where they check in, and they just hit, they hit a button to confirm that they're okay. And if they are not okay, actually, let me backtrack. So if they hit okay, then everything's all good. No alerts are sent out. And then the next day, 24 hours later, they do the same thing over again. Just keep on checking in saying, hey, I am okay. You don't need to send anyone to come get me. If they do miss the check-in, then the Snug alert, the app, is going to alert the emergency contacts saying, hey, you need to go check in on your mom or dad because they did not hit the app and say that they are okay. So obviously if that happens, you're in a different state, and you can't get a hold of mom or dad, then you're going to be able to, call the police and ask to make a welfare check and see what's going on. That's a pretty cool option. There's going to be more options like that coming out in the future, I imagine. Another option, if you want someone to come to your house, is something like a senior helpers. There's also, I think, visiting angels, where basically you can hire people to come to your house, hire them per hour, come to your house at certain times of the day. Maybe they can assist with, probably not medication. That's a little iffy, especially since they might need to be a nurse, but they can help prepare food, heat food up for you, and just do some little light chores around the house. And then obviously just, companionship and check in and make sure that you're doing okay. So that's one really good option out there. Visiting angels, again, is going to have a really similar, type of feel in terms of you pay someone, a couple hours per day, and then they come in and check in on your relative or you, whenever you get to that stage. Then our third option, and this is really all I've got, these three options, is you could have some kind of like home device. And so there's different things that you could have. I've got a picture up here of an Alexa Echo. And so basically, you guys know these smart devices you have in your house. You can speak to it, tell it to turn on the music, tell it to turn on the lights or turn off the lights, whatever, you have. There is basically a way on the Alexa app where you can set it up so that someone else, let's say mom or dad has this set up in their house. You can set it up so that the son or daughter gets an alert every time there's activity on that Echo. So if you wake up and you say, turn on the lights, well, then your son or daughter is going to get notified. Oh, mom turned on her lights. She woke up, and sad to say, we're going to have to keep track of that kind of stuff later on in life. And so if you don't get any activity for, 12 hours, 24 hours, then you can call mom or dad, see what's going on. If not, do some kind of welfare check there. Another thing that you could do is an Apple Watch. Let me see if I have this pulled up. I think I think I closed the tab, but it's fine. I don't really need it. So in Apple Watch, it has fall detection sensors. So that's a pretty cool feature. An emergency SOS, so you have that watch on your wrist, press a couple buttons, and then just send out that emergency that you need help. And it also monitors health, which, not necessarily kind of going for, whether you're alive or not, but, it can track, heartbeats and blood oxygen levels and all that kind of healthy stuff, but not necessarily things that are in the ethos of this particular lesson that I'm trying to teach today. And then finally, as I'm sure you guys know, Google Nest also has a similar feature, although I actually think the Amazon one is a little bit better. But that's all I've really got for today. Again, if you are in your 50s or 60s, we've got to go talk to mom or dad if they're living at home, and we've got to figure out what can we do to make their home easier for them as they age. One of them is just making sure that you're going to have daily check-ins. If you can't get there physically, you can, hire it out to some kind of third-party company where they can check in on them, and then you get alerts if they're not able to check in. Or you can have some kind of device in their home. And I specifically did not mention any kind of cameras because I think that's a little bit weird. But some kind of smart device where you at least detect activity and know that there's something going on in mom or dad's house, which is going to give you a good feeling that they're still with us. And then lastly, and this is a previous episode that I did before, but there's ways to make your home easier as you age. And so this won't prevent what happened to Gene. We're all going to die at some point, but you can make your home a little bit easier for you as you age. And so I'm just going to put a link to that blog post as well as that podcast episode in the description of this episode. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you really think about what you can do for your mom or dad and for yourself if you're getting up there, and just really make sure that there's always going to be someone or some kind of business to check in on you and make sure you're going to go out in the most peaceful and respectful way, and try and avoid the kind of tragedy that we had Gene and his family go through recently. Okay, that's all I've got. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye.